Welcome to my little place. This is Hus, a land center in Denmark on a small island called Orø. My name is Katrine Dolleris and I welcome you inside. I have clay on the walls. Some of the clay is from houses in the village that were renovating, so they had clay in excess and gave it to me. Insulation is from sheep's wool, also from the island. Wool kind of helps to pull, if there is any excess moisture in there, into the wool itself and release it again without causing problems like free water in the wall. Clay has really good properties in holding moisture and heat, and so the climate inside here is very comfortable. So there is the oven. It's producing all the heat in my house. Down here there is an inner chimney, which is kind of in here. And then it goes across, and then it goes around and inside and up and out. There's a big chimney. I really like these natural materials and inviting nature inside. So here's a little bit for the eye as well. My bathtub, and underneath I made the piping so that the water from the bathtub can either go into the garden or into the sewer, which is what it's doing right now. It's just a way to save water, and we had a really dry summer 2018, and I was like, why am I using all this water and just putting into the sewage when it could go into the garden? The forest garden is under this gigantic ash tree. It gets a bit dry sometimes. I wanted to have water from the courtyard, which has kind of concrete and stuff. It doesn't need water there. But then I put pipes around, so I'm kind of leading the water from the other side of the house to this side where it's useful to me. So I have good water coming to this side where it's more dry and the plants need it, especially if it's a dry summer. Have the compost toilet here. So this one is built together with my father, and we made it really solid. And it has separation of urine and feces, and I just use a little sawdust to put on top, and that means that it doesn't smell. Here's like the urine, and here's a poop and paper and sawdust. This one fills up in 3 years maybe. There's some holes in there so it doesn't go anaerobic or anything, but it can compost. Main thing about this is, of course, you want to keep nutrients in the loop and not pollute in some other location. And also save water. There's no need for peeing in groundwater really, so keep that water for something more useful. There's a compost area over there. Needs a bit of sorting out. Compost is really necessary for the garden to thrive, I think. And anyway, it's a really good place to deposit everything you don't want. But even more efficient somehow than the compost are the chickens. The chickens usually live in here. My little trick, I really like just when I'm weeding everything with roots or seeds that I don't really want, I throw it to the chickens and they take care of everything. So that's great. I also have a tiny little shop. I sell herbal tea. I sell some books, herbal salt with herbs from the garden. I sell some seeds. I like to be creative sometimes, so I have this project with earrings. I thought, well, why not use natural materials? So this is what I'm specializing in now. And then this is the actual design. This is the residence workshop. Here I do a lot of work on the courtyard. So this is the base map, the line of the land. Then I observed microclimates. This also informs me of what kind of plants can be put in which areas. I have a lot of interaction with my neighbor, which is here. It's this museum, it's a community forest garden that I'm working with here. So I placed the compost toilet here because then people from the community area could actually also use it. The reason why I chose permaculture as part of my living is because I think that's one of the only concepts that I really came across that has made really sense to me. So I was studying geography, mostly in the 90s, and we were looking at different ways of sustainable living on the earth with many examples from around the globe. And I was working in Southeast Asia on some big aid programs, and I saw how there was a lot of focus on income as a way forward for development, also in agriculture, but not really a lot of focus on culture and the well-being of people, because money doesn't necessarily ensure a happy life. I wanted to include the permaculture way in this, which is caring for the earth, caring for people, and fair share of resources. But I quickly realized that after a couple of years working in this international setting in Vietnam, that what we actually need to do is to reduce the consumption in first world countries like in Denmark. And the best way I could do that was probably through teaching permaculture in my part of the world. I came home and bought this house as a base for my teaching. And in the beginning, it was a bit too big for me, but I realized that, okay, I could have people here and it could be a demonstration site. And so I've been working a lot with volunteers, interns, and also been teaching from here. So this has been an interesting journey. I can say honestly, sometimes it's a little difficult, and sometimes it's really a blessing to have people coming through. Demonstrating permaculture is, I think, the most efficient way of really getting people to understand what it is and what we're doing and how we can work with things. And I can very honestly say that I think this is my happy life.
My name is Maria and Mark, and I've been in this project from whenever it started. We have two organizations. One we call the Gardens, because we have more gardens, and the other one is Tiny Varigheden, and that is the tiny house project. We have a socio-aquatic organization structure. So above these two organizations we have, we call it head circle. So they decide about the whole land. The ownership is actually the municipality. And the municipality owns the land and we rent the land. I guess you know about market gardens. So this is mostly annuals. So we have annuals in this, and then we have a garden with perennials down there in the food forest. So the food forest starts from where Katrine is over there, and then it goes down here and down to where the land ends. So it's 0.6 hectare. Tall trees, smaller trees, berries, perennials and climbers and so on. So here we have plants that go good at the beach. The plants just come up early. Sometimes even in February they come up if there's no snow. You can see there's actually a lot of green now that's not in the other garden. We are experimenting, that's what we say all the time, we're experimenting, we don't know the full way, and something really works and then we can say, okay, this works in our garden and I hope it will work in your garden as well. This is the common garden. So we had to say, where do you put the vegetable, where would we put the vegetable garden? And then we found out that, of course, we will put it where we can get water. So we had to ask the neighbor, can we take water from your roof? And then so we put these 8 cubic meters for watering. The Mandela beds, and it's for individual. Suddenly, many people who started with one bed ended up in the other gardens that are common gardens and social gardens. So you can be a member, but if you pay 150 extra, you can get your own bed, so you don't have to discuss with other people what you put there. This is the big greenhouse, we call it. And we built it actually together with these young people I told you about that hasn't got jobs. So sometimes we have to be very patient, you know. Things just come in, and suddenly one person sees, actually maybe that is my job, you know. I think it's 2 people who are more or less doing all this. They love it. They're 2 elder people who are in that common garden as well. But they love it here, and they can't, you know, they put potatoes and the grapes come and the tomatoes come, and it's packed with things. Almond and nectarines and peach. Just sometimes we just have a course for a day here about sociocracy or compost or eco building and all this. This is the therapy garden. 2 main things we do here is to rebuild people and rebuild earth. It wasn't used very much last year, so we forgot to rebuild ourselves last year. People who have gone sick from their work, you know, they are in the municipality and they came out here and then they met out here twice a week, and it was fantastic, totally fantastic, because we were just outside and we sat and have a talk, and sometimes we had a meditation and we made qigong, and they really felt energized by this. This is our outdoor kitchen, and we built this clay oven and a stove where we put the fire here, and then the smoke comes up here and actually heat this one and goes down here and the way up here and out there. So this whole area is where the 16 tiny houses they're going to be here. This is the first tiny house we built, and we built it in 10 days on a workshop, 12-15 people. And then we had 2 people who really knew what they were doing, so they could keep the others working well. And we finished. Of course, there was a lot of work after, like making the walls with clay and the floors or whatever. But in 10 days, we really finished the roof, the outside, and the windows. So it is quite fantastic what you could do in 10 days, 15 people, 12-15 people. So this is one of the smallest houses, 26 square meters. And it's built, the principles we have is it should be built from natural and reused material.
Over there we have the rainwater tank. The rainwater is going into the big tank and also supports the toilet. Then we have a second tank over there, one for the black water and one for the grey water to collect it, and so the sediments fall down. And when it's ready and filtered, then it goes all the way over here to this plant filter. The climate house itself, it is consisting of 2 small houses, But it's reused materials, so we use the wood that you see in the building process for the house down there and for the house here. So these are all overshoot or rest. We have nothing bought. And then you can see the cladding over here is a little bit different from what we have on the south side. Here we used also overshoot material. You have to make sure that you burn it a little bit more so it begins to blister. When you do that properly, you can have such a wall like 50 or 100 years maybe. It's a Japanese method to seal the material. The skifer we have again, but then we used wood in its original form. As you can see, these ones go on top of it, so you can make a box out of a pallet. And we had a few that were not that good anymore, so we just reused the wood to make another type of facade. My favorite, the metal part. As you can see, there are different types of structure on it, and that's because we tried different methods to make the metal facade. And we did that by running over a few pipes with my car. So it was really fun to do that. The good thing is, if you use air pipes, as you have ventilation pipes that you have in big buildings, they often get thrown out. But it's actually the best material you can use because it's not rusting, it's absolutely fire resistant, and you can easily bend it and do whatever you want to do. That's our common space. So we have one big room that is flexible how we use it. In the end, we have a kitchen that we bought used, of course. And the rest of the house is also very special because we used a lot of different materials and made a lot of different decisions what we want to use inside the house. But what you're seeing right now is flooring from a local company. Normally they throw that out. And on the walls you see clay again and again. And here we have 3 layers. And the finest layer isn't that fine, and we have to repair a lot around the doors. But the good thing with clay is you can always do whatever you want with it, take it down again and get it up without losing any material. And here you can also see how we built the wall from the very first beginning of clay, and then the colored part on top of it. It's not the same thickness as on the walls, but just to show what we used. And the insulation in the floor is hempcrete in loose form, and that means that we have a little bit here. It's just hemp with chalk. If you buy blocks, it makes things a little bit easier to build, we thought. But it took us 5 days for only this wall, and there are 5 people involved. And the rest of the 10 people were involved building that wall, and that took just too much time. So on the south side, you can see that the walls are not that thick as they are on the other side. And that's because we used wood fiber, and it took us 1 day with 2 persons to do all the wall, also all the south side. And if you want to make it really, really cheap, you don't buy all the expensive materials, because hempcrete is quite expensive. It's a good material if you want to re-insulate an older house, but if you really want to do it cheap, this is your favorite, because this is nothing else than hay and clay, just mixed like a salad bowl, You can do it with your own hands without any supporting machines, or you only have to have time, because it takes a lot of time to make that. But you can do it very easy, very fast, with a lot of people, because you don't need any tools to do that. So my recommendation, if you're not dependent on energy calculations or something like that, and you don't have any money, use this one. It's so easy and fun to work with, and we do that sometimes when we're out on exhibitions and so on, where we invite kids to just help us to build a wall like this, and then we can use it. We have 2 walls over there that are finished elements that we can just put into a house, and then it's insulated. I think that is quite funny.
I was working with environmental issues, and I felt we were just talking, and then we had a new group and we could tell them about solar cells, but did we have solar cells ourselves? And you know, so I just said, I quit. I can't do it any longer. I need to go out and do it on the ground. You can just start by doing your compost at your balcony in the city. Just start a little bit, and then you'll get the experience instead of keep talking about it. That's where we are. We have to start doing it. That's where we are.